You know what? I got a confession to make.
What's that?
This is a real confession. I thought about this on the drive
A
here.
real confession.
Yeah.
Do you feel bad for making me drive all the way out here on a Saturday night?
No, because of the amount of times I had to drive out to STL to record. So, no, this was a long time coming.
All 2 times?
Hey, it's all right.
It's all right. It's all right.
Anyway, what's the worst thing you've ever done in a car, as in driving? Something that you had gotten away with, or you accidentally did to somebody while in a car?
Like somebody else in the car or somebody else on the road?
In the road.
Ooh.
And one that won't, vilify you too much.
Yeah.
Or put you in I'm not a narc or anything. No, I'm not a rat, but I'm genuinely curious.
If I can be completely honest, honestly, nothing comes to mind. I'm a pretty good driver.
Let the record show that Brett Bartholomew Hendricks is a grandpa for a driver.
For the record, my middle name is not Bartholomew. It is Michael. But let me think about this for a little second. Because there's got to be something. Gosh, trying to think back, in college. Okay, well, it's not something bad, but it's something kind of crazy.
Okay. So,
this is a very, very outlandish story, but it's a true one. So when I was at Mason, we had we call it Snowmageddon. It was like a massive snowstorm, 4 feet of snow. And so anyways, you're stuck home for a week. But we had another storm a couple weeks after that. And there were a couple girls I knew from Bradley were in D.C. doing something. Maybe I knew them from high school. I don't know. Anyways, they came over to my place and we drove in to Arlington or D.C. or something, with the snow on the highway, just sliding all over the place. And I had a minivan.
You had a minivan?
I had a minivan, yeah.
Why?
And looking back, I know it was definitely not the smartest move.
Okay.
But yeah,
it's not what I.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I ask this because.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Well, this kind of along the same vein. When I was at Bradley, I drove to St. Louis with a buddy. You're gonna laugh at this. We drove all the way in to watch the Plain White Tees. And then, so we were driving.
So lame.
Wait.
So 2000s.
I know. I love the Plain White Tees.
But no one has ever said that. Since 2008, probably.
Yeah, fair enough. So we we got on Kings Highway from 40 going up to Delmar.
Oof.
And Kings Highway by the hospital stuff, they're just rows. There's rows of lights.
Yeah, it's always under construction.
Yeah, I ran a red light because I was looking at the light and ahead of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So,
I ask this because I did. I'm trying to clear my language up a bit. I did something. I was a complete jackwagon on my drive over here tonight.
Yeah.
I saw the light was turning red. It was yellow. And this dude had been riding almost in the trunk of my car. So I didn't brake check him. Mm-hmm. But I definitely made it seem like I was about to just brake for the light. And right before it turned red, I gunned that sucker. And I made him wait for that light. I felt vindicated. And that's what you get when you ride me. I don't like it. I really hate it. I know I mean, out of the both of us, I am the reckless driver here.
There you are. I mean, we were in the car together for a few thousand miles.
I'm like year. Neil Cassidy behind the wheel.
Tell you what, though. Speaking of drivers being on your tail, every time, literally every morning when I drive in, I get these jack wagons in their pickup trucks with, just flying out the highway.
Yeah, they're called grocery farmers.
Yeah.
No one around here really needs a flipping truck.
No. Also, you have those. Then you have the construction guys in their, how should we say it, compact cars going out in middle Timbuktu, which that's great. You know, we need construction workers.
Yeah.
But I understand that, you know, they have to work in the middle of nowhere, but, you know, it doesn't give them a right to fly on the highway. You know, when I'm just taking my time, you know, half time I'm actually speeding, and they get on my tail and I have to get in the middle lane.
You never speed, dude.
Well, no. Well, technically I do, but not with respect to other cars.
Right.
Like I'll go whatever traffic's doing. So if the speed limit's 60 and everyone else is going 70, I'll go 70. But, you know, I'm not going to be flying by other cars.
So, yeah, okay. Well, hit me up on the socials. You know where to find us. onceuponatome22@gmail.com. Let me know if I'm a jerk or an a-hole. You know? Just let me.
Once upon a Tome 22 on Facebook. We don't have Facebook.
No, we don't need a Facebook.
On Twitter and Insta.
Frick you, Zuckerberg.
Boom.
Well, actually, I use Instagram, so.
Hey, you know what?
Don't listen to me.
Hey, you know what I just thought of, Beau? You know what's a new phrase you could say?
Huh.
Zuck you. Oh!
You can't see it right now, but I'm clenching my temples like an old man.
Come on, Beau. You appreciate that humor. I know you do.
That was such a dad joke.
Oh, I love dad jokes. I'm not even a dad, and I love dad jokes.
I think we did this bit last time.
That's another characteristic of a dad is repeats things over and over again.
Anyway,
I have all the characteristics of a dad, but I don't even have a girlfriend.
This is sad now.
Beau, I'm giving you a pitch here. You need to lean in, and I'm teeing it up for you.
Now you're just desperate. I'll leave you waiting.
Okay.
Welcome to the episode. I forgot which one this was.
I believe this is full episode number 6.
Full episode number 6. We got a goodie. We have a real good episode today.
Yeah, this is going to be a little different than previous ones. But it will not be different in the sense that in the beverages we are drinking,
which is the good old.
Dang it.
Look who's the fool now.
How did mine explode? It was just sitting on the counter.
You didn't spill that much.
No.
Actually, you spilled.
Yeah. Well,
remember
we're even, buddy. I made fun of you last time for it.
Clank.
You can make fun of me.
I feel so good right now.
Yeah.
You know what?
Do you feel vindicated?
I do. That's just karma. You know, I confess to something. I put it out there.
Yeah.
And the universe just says, "Hey, remember that time where Brett made fun of you? Watch this."
That is true. I'm putting proverbially my foot in my mouth right now. And trying to find something to dry my hands on because we're handling books and papers. And you can't do
There's
that.
some paper towels over there.
Yeah.
Brett's wrapped up in a blanket. My basement is a little cold for his taste. But he also, ladies, has about 2% body fat. Not because he's muscular. He's very skinny.
I try.
He hasn't eaten sugar since March of last year.
For the record, I did biceps today in the gym. For all you ladies out there.
Oh, before we get to the meat of the program, I've been waiting to tell you this.
Yeah.
Solely so it's on record.
Okay.
Okay. I was in Chi-Town. You know this. About 2 weeks ago. Wonderful little city.
Yep.
Wonderful.
You got to see your Bulls lose?
Yes, I did. But I got to see Patrick Kane do a hat trick.
Ooh.
And you know what? I also found out what a hat trick was that night.
You did not know what a hat trick was?
Dude, I do not watch hockey. I'm trying to get into it. And you know what? I'm a Blackhawks fan. Sue me.
Really?
No, I don't know. I'm still looking. I'm in the market for a
What's next?
team.
You're going to be a Cubs fan?
No. Why would I do that to myself?
I don't know. I mean,
You know I like the White Sox.
And you like the Cardinals. But, I mean, Now you say you're a Blackhawks fan. Somehow I feel like St. Louis is slipping away from you. I mean, Beau, you know what they say? It starts small and then it snowballs. So I don't know what to make. I mean, your next steps are going to be huge. It'll be very telling.
I respect my grandfather's memory. I am his namesake. I could never willingly like the Cubs. I'm sorry to anyone who appreciates our show in Chicago. But I do like the White Sox. So who else? There's something.
You know who else doesn't like the Cubs currently?
Wilson Contreras.
Wilson Contreras.
The new boy.
For the record, if you are unfamiliar with that reference, he's the new Cardinals catcher, came over from the Cubs, and has been very vocal about how the Cardinals are a superior organization. I believe those were his exact.
Yeah.
I believe his exact words were, "The Cardinals are a better organization."
Man of very few words, yes. And
are you saying that because he speaks Spanish?
No. No, I just barely hear him talk.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever watched an interview with him. But anyway, he's like, they're a very, very better, very much better organization.
But he's a very animated player in the field.
I do like watching him play. He was the only Cub, except for Ross and Rizzo. But man, oh man, let's not get into it.
And wait, one more thing.
Okay.
You'll probably be able to see him for Team Colombia if you go down with me.
No, he's not. He's not playing.
No. You gotta wait till I'm done.
Okay.
Next February, if you go down with me and my dad and a bunch of other guys for the Caribbean series.
Oh yeah. Okay.
If his team makes it there, you'll probably see him there too.
I pray to God he does. I'm buying that Contreras jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
shall we get this show on the road?
No, I had something else.
Okay, sorry.
I was in Chicago.
Oh, you're still in the Chicago story?
Yeah. To put it on record.
Okay.
I saw something.
Okay. Put it
and it made
on
me
record.
think of you.
Okay.
And I want to break your heart on air.
Uh-oh.
I was looking out, pondering, brooding out my hotel window at the Hotel Blake, which is an incredible hotel off of Printers Row. And I looked down. There's a 24/7 gym there that you have to have a key for. Private. Fully private gym that you have to rent out.
Oh!
Someone took your idea. Someone was listening in, man. They were listening in on our freaking communications, and they heard you say, and they took your idea.
Well, I guess it at least validates that it was a good idea.
Now we just have this podcast.
Wait. Here's the thing, though. I'm thinking about it. I'm mulling it in my brain. Maybe we could franchise it. Or start something similar, just call it something different.
What would you call it?
Private gym? No. I know. That was a joke. Let's see. Off the top of my head. Here you go. The gym.
No.
GTL.
What was that stand for?
Gym Tan Laundry. Jersey Shore.
Dude, Jersey Shore is like the bottom of the barrel of culture. I could not stand that even when I was a...
No, I know. You know what? Send us recommendations for the gym names. And you know what? We'll bring you in on the business if your name is selected.
We can't even get these people to email us. What makes you think they're gonna go?
Well,
on
no,
a
wait. You know what? We got 2 emails, Beau. 2 legitimate emails.
Yes, we have.
Yep. So,
am I gonna read one of them on?
We're gonna read both of them. Okay. So the first one. This one's directed at you, Beau.
Can I read it then?
You can.
Which one do I want to read? Okay. Dear Beau, I was incentivized to write this email because I long for receiving a baseball card from you. Okay. I am a literary giant and wanted to boast about the most recent mini-tome I have read. Dr. Seuss, The Cat in the Hat. My hope is you would provide commentary and let me know your thoughts on Thing 1 and Thing 2.
Who was it?
Warm regards, Ron Hendricks.
AKA my dad.
Your father.
All right, Beau. So he's asking your thoughts on Thing 1 and Thing 2. What do you think they represent? Or
I think it's Dr. Seuss's duality of his own moral code in regards to how he treated his wife.
Expand
The
upon
animal nature in which he... you know what? I'll be honest. It's been forever since I've read A Cat in the Hat. And the fact that you brought it here from the library...
Yeah, I mean, I asked you if you wanted to read it beforehand, and you said, "Oh no, I'm very familiar with it." I believe they enter in about halfway through. Currently, Beau is flipping through the story.
I do not fish at all. You know, Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat is probably like one of the creepiest things I've ever seen as a kid.
Yeah.
And it's also one of the reasons why I never liked Alec Baldwin. Oh, here we go. I will pick up the hook. You will see something new. 2 things, and I call them Thing 1 and Thing 2. These things will not bite you. They want to have fun. Then out of the box came Thing 2 and Thing 1. And they ran to us fast. They said, "How do you do? Would you like to shake hands with Thing 1 and Thing 2? Man, oh man. What do they mean? I'm stumped.
You're stumped?
Here I am going to be pontificating about dense subjects, and I can't even tell you exactly what Thing 1 and Thing 2 represent without making a joke.
Beau.
Uno momento, por favor.
Un momento.
What did I say?
Well, you said one moment, but in Spanish you would say just un momento.
2.
Are you literally Googling Thing 1 and Thing 2?
What does it mean?
So, for the record, these are not Beau's actual thoughts. These are Google's thoughts. Come on, Beau. I thought you were more original in this.
Oh, no. The Cat in the Hat. Here we go. The Cat in the Hat is pretty much the Pied Piper. And he uses Thing 1 and Thing 2. It's kind of like in Pinocchio, where they turn the boys into the donkey. You know, remember that gruesome scene? Everyone knows this.
You know, I have not seen that in probably 25 years.
Frick you. Go watch Pinocchio.
I think you mean Zuck you.
No, because I'm making it so everyone is clear that I'm not cussing. Anyway.
Well, I think I pronunciated that very clearly. Zuck.
That was a very moist sounding Zuck.
Anyways, continue.
Anyway, the Cat in the Hat is the Pied Piper. He's trying to turn the kids into Thing 1 and Thing 2. So if the mom doesn't come home, he's just going to be kidnapping them and turning them into these weird beasts.
Beau, is that your final answer? Are you stumped by the Cat in the Hat? Have you been stumped by the Cat in the Hat?
I think I gave a pretty good analysis.
Yeah, I'd give it a
The
C.
Cat in the Hat is like what is it? The pale man in Pan's Labyrinth. Come on, give it to me.
Well, you know what? I mean, I haven't really thought about it because it was directed at you. But, you know, the kids are playing. This random cat shows up wearing a hat, unleashes Thing 1 and Thing 2. They seem to be his kind of like little, I don't want to say slaves, but kind of little, I don't know, little followers. You know, and they seemingly wreak havoc upon the house and scare the kids. And then, you know, when the kids see their mom's about to come home, Thing 1, Thing 2 just suddenly get out of the way, clean everything up. So, maybe Dr. Seuss is trying to say that sometimes there are things in life we just do not understand.
You know what? That makes sense.
Yeah. You're welcome, Dad. I apologize for Beau's incompetence.
No, I'm just dark.
I mean, I don't really think you gave any of your own answers, actually, though.
But I barely even read whatever that person was saying. I take offense to that.
Well,
Anyway, read the next one.
all right. So this next one is from Emily. Emily listens to us from, I believe, Jackson, Missouri.
I'm going
she
to
goes,
Jackson.
Hi there. My name is Emily, and I'm a new fan of the show. I just wanted to say thanks for helping me reignite my interest in reading.
You're welcome.
You are very welcome. We love it when people love to read, regardless of if it's us who inspires them or not, you know? She also wrote, after I responded back to her, I'm actually finishing up my first book after years of not reading, so that's exciting. I am happy to be the second, or debatably the first, email submission, because she is the first non-family member to write in.
Yeah.
So what do we do, Beau? What do we send her?
Well, we're going to send her a Nolan Ryan baseball card.
So I actually mailed it out this morning.
Darn right you did.
What was in that package? Or that envelope?
A picture of us.
Picture of us.
And a Nolan Ryan baseball card.
Yep. And I included the piece of paper with her name written on it that was in the picture.
Oh, yeah.
And then one of our promo cards.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's a nice little prize pack. You know, if we were bigger, we were actually sponsored by Topo Chico. We had some more financial means. We'd send something a little more elaborate.
Yeah.
But we're DIYers, so
we need to get sponsored.
We do.
Help us out.
You think Burroughs can sponsor us?
No. I don't want to be sponsored by anything by him.
Well, I was actually more going for the joke because he's dead, so it's not possible.
I know. I'm really bad with getting jokes. I'm the last person in a friend group to understand when someone's saying a joke.
But, so let's see. We read their emails. Maybe some more stats. So we have 49 followers on Twitter. As of yet, no direct messages. So if you direct message us, we'll send you a prize pack and a baseball card.
Oh, wow.
We still have 0 comments on YouTube.
That's fine.
Yeah. We have 495 downloads.
Okay.
Across 18 countries.
Darn right.
So the U.S., Germany, UK, Canada, Austria, Spain, Australia, New Zealand, Israel, Ireland, Romania, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Chile, Iran, Poland, Ukraine, and then 3 unknown.
Unknown?
Yeah. They probably just use like a VIP kind of protector thing. You know what?
You mean a VPN?
A VPN, yeah. You know what I am a little bit confused about, though?
What?
The UK is not a country. I was under the impression that Ireland is part of the UK. Because isn't the UK like the entire island with like England, Wales, Ireland, and Northern Ireland?
Was it Ireland? Did they separate themselves? Or is that still an ongoing thing?
Oh, you know what? That's probably why they showed up as 2 countries here. Still, though, the UK is not a country.
It's pretty crazy.
But yet, Podbean says it's a country. Podbean is the host service we use.
Okay.
Server. But anyways, I thought that was interesting. So if I do feel like we need to expand our countries, though. So, if you're listening to a country that's not listed on here, download our podcast and write us. Tell us which country you're from, and we will send you a prize package internationally.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I dig that.
Yeah. So, shall we get going with the meat of our pod today?
Yes. Yes, we shall. And I would like to preface that we'll be dealing with some heavy topics here.
Yes. But we'll try to keep it PG.
Oh, we'll try.
Yeah.
This is what a dear friend would call a perennial digression. Is there a thesis to my thoughts? Maybe not. Actually, there's probably not. But I just want to simulate what it's like in my head when I'm reading something and it just hits me on an existential level and just makes me want to cry because it's just so beautifully written. That's my aim.
Okay.
That's my goal.
All right. So I think we should probably give the listeners a little explanation as to, one, what this is, and why we're doing it, because it's a little bit of a departure from the norm. Is that correct? Would you agree with that statement?
It is. It's a special.
Yeah. So basically, we were trying to figure out, in between our series of top novels that we've read, our favorite ones, and the next tome we're gonna do, kind of how we could bridge the gap between that. So we decided, since there's a few authors from St. Louis, that we would, in that gap, just kind of visit their childhood homes, visit their graves, and kind of just like talk about them. So for this one, we're talking about William S. Burroughs. So his home is in the Central West End. It's towards downtown St. Louis if you don't live in the area. So about 5 minutes from where I live. So a couple Saturdays ago, Beau and I, our friend Dave, went over, visited his childhood home, and then went to his gravesite. And we actually filmed a couple things, so we'll put those out on the social media. So
Yeah.
hopefully by now you've seen those.
Met the owner.
Yeah, the owner came out, and that was really cool. He came out. We thought he was coming out to just kind of kick us away.
Yeah,
but
I was really nervous.
But he brought out his kids. I guess he would just go and take his kids out, enjoying the nice weather. But he gave us some good info on kind of, why he bought the house and the layout and the inside and everything.
He is a fan. That's why he bought it.
Yeah. And he's what college was he the dean of? He was the dean of
SLU.
Yeah. Well, but which college within SLU?
Oh man, something smart.
Something science related?
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah. So, shall we get into it?
Yes, we shall.
So, William S. Burroughs, he was born in St. Louis, and he is most known for, I would say, Naked Lunch. I mean, Junkie as well, but Naked Lunch probably is most famous, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was named one of Time's 100 best English language novels from 1923 to 2005. There was a 1991 David Cronenberg adaptation.
It's pretty fantastic. I suggest finding it and watching it.
So, I mean, basically, feel free to chime in on this, Beau, but most of Burroughs' work was almost, autobiographical in the sense that he was a heroin and drug addict, and
professional.
And his works really spell it out. And so,
yes,
I was thinking about this today, because I've read it twice. I read it once in college and then once very recently, and I think if you read it without knowing anything else about it, you're gonna be like, what the heck is this? Like, why is this so influential? Like, who reads this stuff? But I think, it's one of those works where you really have to know kind of the backstory behind the author. Not even really why he wrote it, because I don't think he wrote it to show the dangers of drugs. I just think he just wrote it because that's all he knew.
I have my own analysis of why. Yeah.
And so it's one of, it's transgressive fiction. So, it's written in a way to make you really see the horrors of drugs, like hard drugs, and what they can do to you and how it will absolutely screw up your life. And so I think if you treat it that way, if you go into it reading it that way, you'll have a new appreciation for it.
Yeah. Burroughs is maybe not problematic. Definitely. Oh, it's hard. It's just a very difficult read. And if you were to go and if you're one of those people who like binge read authors, you enter Burroughs, you will not leave the same person.
Yeah. I mean, you may not leave Burroughs.
You might not leave ever. Yeah.
You may get halfway through and be like, I'm done with this guy.
The thing with the beats are all autobiographical. So when I read Naked Lunch, I read it as a man who's clearly losing his mind, and he's channeling this dark, energy. The whole cut up technique and the events that led up to it. It's clearly not from someone with, a stable psyche at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it can kind of like, I don't know if this is like the genius of it or just kind of it is what it is, but he wrote it in such a way that each chapter, each vignette can be read in any order, which, if you're on heroin, that's what your life feels like. It's just like there's no order to it.
Yeah. Here's a good quote from the novel. I really, because you're just bringing this up. The junk merchant doesn't sell his product to the consumer. He sells the consumer to his product. He does not improve and simplify his merchandise. He degrades and simplifies the client. How do you like my impression?
Are you doing impression of Burroughs?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard Burroughs talk, so.
Well, he talks like this, you betcha, by golly. You were not there for the beginning. You will not be there for the end. Your knowledge of what is going on can only be superficial and relative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
there's
it's basically, it speaks to like drugs are going to get you. If you start them, they're going to get you. Like, especially if you get, heroin, morphine, like he was on, like the book's about. Like, they will just eat your lunch.
Yeah. And so let me start here with my little digression, right? The Beat Generation came upon, post-World War II and immediately just, like, shook the status quo in terms of, like, literary tradition, social norms. These guys just strove to be outcasts. And they were... Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think in some ways they can be compared or like the equivalent of the surrealists?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a direct influence.
Because, when we visited the Dali Museum, I never really realized that surrealism was a direct response to World War One.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense, all these great surrealist artists, like I think was it Andre Breton who fought for 4 years. Like, he was a medic, survived World War One, and the educational video was saying how, like, someone like him, the world strove for order, but if all order got was 4 years of hell,
yeah,
that he's in his mind, he needed to do the opposite. And that's where surrealism was birthed. And that made so much sense to me. So maybe that's kind of the same thing that's going on here with the Beats.
Yeah, and I would... Oh, for sure. I also think there's a reaction... and I do think there was some influence from them by these authors.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But, writers like Hemingway, Faulkner, Fitzgerald, and Steinbeck, these are disillusioned men that dealt with their humanity and, the society and their dark passions with hard drinking and hopelessness. The Beats, challenged what those, because those are all, men who were, debaucherous or, may have been outside the norm, but they were certainly idolized by the masses in some
for sure.
capacity. Like, no one except for the, maybe the artsy wanted to idolize anyone from the Beats,
Yeah.
And I think that's why I gravitate towards Kerouac as much as I do, not only just because I think his writing is beautiful and it means so much to me, but usually this is Kerouac is a guy who, he was a football star, he's an athlete, and here he is, he's trying to search for the very nature of life and, go out there with all the, the freaks and, the interesting, like the quote from On the Road, like he likes the mad ones. And I hope to show that Kerouac is, his role in the Beats, not only is he, other than Ginsberg, the most successful, but he's mainly an observer. Kerouac mainly just hates himself, and he observes everyone else, and he'll partake every once in a while. But yeah, you get so many great writers and artists. Kerouac, Ginsberg. You get Burroughs, Joyce Johnson, Lucien Carr, Neil Cassidy, Robert Kaufman, Hetty Jones. I mean, these were underground darlings to disenchanted youth.
Yeah.
Anyway, Burroughs was born into an incredibly wealthy family out here. His parents created pretty much what I guess is a calculator.
Yeah, I think his father was the adding machine.
Yeah,
Burroughs adding machine, just like that.
Yeah, so I mean, he lived off of his parents and an allowance from his parents pretty much most of his life. Pretty much think the rest of his life. They bailed him out on so many
things. I mean, they bailed him out in Mexico, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
So I think I want to make it clear that we're not praising Burroughs.
No,
we're praising his work for its literary value. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the intriguing things for me with Burroughs is that in order to read Naked Lunch, you have to understand the context. In order to read anything by Burroughs, you need to understand his life, and that works for some people. And there's a lot of people, great-minded, smart people who are like, no, absolutely, I put your foot down, and I don't blame you for it, but it's like what Kurt Cobain says, sometimes these people tell you things you need to hear, Another quote before we get down into the thick of it: the strength of a person's spirit would then be measured by how much truth he could tolerate, or more precisely, to what extent he needs to have it diluted, disguised, sweetened, muted, falsified. And that is Friedrich Nietzsche, Beyond Good and Evil. And one or two from William S. Burroughs. Who was I? The stranger was footsteps. Oh my God. I messed that up. Who was I? The stranger was footsteps in the snow a long time ago. That's from Cities of the Red Night. Every man has inside himself a parasitic being who is acting not at all to his advantage. And we use that to lean into the fact, or the part of the story where one of the things Burroughs is known for is in some drunken, debaucherous, rough housing, in Mexico or whatever.
Mexico City.
He decided, you can watch the documentary. He'll tell you himself, he just gets his wife, Jane Vollmer, and says, time for a William Tell act, which they had never done. And he shot her. He gets away with it.
Because it happened in Mexico.
It happened in Mexico. Some had happened with the lawyers or whatever. I don't know. But there's a documentary in the Criterion. He talks about it. I remember watching it for the first time. My buddy, big fan of the Beats. We were watching, and to hear Burroughs talk about it dead on to the camera on his deadpan delivery, it's one of the most hauntingly gross things. Those kinds of stuff. Like it hits me in the heart. In an existential way. Like that's why it's hard for me to understand true crime. Like this whole fetishistic, or whatever. The obsession that people have over true crime. It just really scares me. I don't know why, but and then he runs away to Tangier, and that's where he writes Naked Lunch. And so when you read it, it's just a man losing his mind, and then the rest of them are left there to wonder what the heck is happening to them. Because they were out there trying to be shamans and trying to be, madmen in the face of originality and, rebelling against their status quo that they were born in. I mean, Burroughs was a man who was stuck in the closet for most of his early life. Because in that time period they had, could you imagine? He couldn't be himself up until he met those guys, and he's married, and it's just ugh.
Yeah, he had a kid too, right?
Yeah, and that's the other thing.
His kid died before he did, right?
Yeah, that's another. His son was also an addict, and that's one of the things that just pisses me off, really grinds my gears.
Yeah.
About the whole thing is that he was an excellent writer, but I just don't.
That's about it.
That's yeah, but I just want to talk about how when you read Kerouac, how this kind of affects him, right? So most people would probably tell you the only Kerouac you need to read is probably On the Road. Do not listen to that SOB. They don't know anything. Once you read On the Road, you read it again, right? Because On the Road is not only a physical journey, but it is a spiritual journey. The road is the road, but it is also the road of the mind.
So you're telling me I need to read it again?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I read it once and...
No, you got to read it again.
Okay.
And once you read it, you got to read Big Sur, which takes place, years afterwards. It's kind of like a good epilogue, I think. It kind of... You would expect someone who is as successful as Kerouac, making all the money he never had, would be a happy person.
Mm-hmm.
He's not.
No. My money never buys happiness.
He absolutely does not. I agree. No, he hates himself even more. He hates who he represents and who people, the person that they idolize. He can't get a moment's peace, because he is now this symbol for, rebellion and, the youth going out and leaving their parents and, traveling. I mean, Kerouac was a huge influence on the hippie culture, the counterculture of the 60s. And he hated that. He was so flippin' lonely,
Yeah.
And like I said before, he states it himself. He's just merely observing these people. Like, he is so attracted and interested in Neil, that he, Neil is the man, his consciousness can transcend any norm that they're living in, and he doesn't care about anything in the world except for jazz music and getting laid, pretty much.
Do you think, like, deep down, Kerouac wants that, but he knows it's not him, but he just would like it to be?
I think, yeah. I mean, I think at a certain age, anybody would I want to be exactly like that,
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at what I'm asking is it kind of like in The Master, where Freddy's this crazy guy who needs a structure that who's Philip Seymour Hoffman's character's name? What's his name?
Oh, I can't remember.
Anyways, Philip Seymour Hoffman's supposed to play kind of
L. Ron Hubbard.
But in the movie, it's something different. But anyways, so, Freddy needs a structure that L. Ron Hubbard provides, but L. Ron Hubbard craves, like, the craziness that, Freddy has. So they need each other. I'm just wondering, do you think it's that way with Kerouac and his work?
I absolutely believe that, yeah. Yeah, because all of his work is just so I mean, that's why you read the original scroll.
Yeah.
I mean, when he wrote it, he's using everyone's name. He had to switch it post, So I think he wants it, and I think he does, because at the end of the novel, he reaches that moment. He reaches the moment in which Neil lives his entire life by, and you know what happens? It's a great freaking disappointment for him. Yeah. He's left alone. Yeah. Neil leaves him. He's pissed off at him. Yeah. Here's the quote. All I wanted and all Neil wanted and all anybody wanted was some kind of penetration into the heart of things where, like in a womb, we could curl up and sleep the ecstatic sleep that Burroughs was experiencing with a big good big mainline shot of M. And advertising executives were experiencing with 12 scotch and sodas and Stofers before they made the drunkard's train to Westchester, but without hangovers. And I had many a romantic fancy then, and sighed at my star. The truth of the matter is, you die. All you do is die, and yet you live. Yes, you live. And that's no Harvard lie. You know, these guys, all they're searching for is that, you know, this ecstasy and, you know, these spiritual, you know, experience, and
they want to
transcend themselves, you know.
They want a continual euphoric experience.
Yeah. Kerouac almost achieves this, but instead he gets dysentery and he's left hooting and hollering, you know. It's not necessarily a spiritual epiphany, you know, like Neil has. Because Neil leaves him to take care of his wives and woes. Yeah. You know? And for just a moment, I had reached the point of ecstasy that I always wanted to reach, and which was the complete step across chronological time into timeless shadows, and wonderment in the bleakness of the mortal realm, and the sensation of death kicking at my heels to move on, with a phantom dogging its own heels, and myself hurrying to a plank where all the angels dove off and flew into infinity. Angels in the architecture, spinning in infinity. He says, hey, hallelujah. You get that? You know what the song is?
Yeah, like the Leonard Cohen song?
No. You Can Call Me Al by Paul Simon.
Wow.
That's a good guess, though. I do love me some Leonard Cohen.
Yeah. That documentary on Netflix is pretty good.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I love me some Leonard Cohen.
Hallelujah. Boom, boom. Hallelujah.
Maybe that's another episode. I'd love to talk about.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
That's getting edited out.
I doubt it.
I'd love to do an episode where I talk about the two best versions of that song, the Leonard Cohen original, and his many different forms. Jeff Buckley.
You know
his story.
You know, I didn't notice, or I didn't realize till watching the documentary, that there are a lot of people who, like, their first introduction to that song was the Buckley version.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, ain't it?
Yeah.
The original was a flop.
Yeah.
The record company screwed him over.
Oh yeah. But we digress. We'll do a future episode on that.
Yeah. So anyway, at the end of on the road, you know, him and Neil just part ways. They're no longer meant for each other. He leaves with, I think of Dean Moriarty. I even think of old Dean Moriarty, the father we never found. I think of Dean Moriarty. You know, so that's why I say go back and read it again once you're done, because he's trying to get you to, you know, just like Infinite Jest, go about the cycle. So now when you read it, the whole experience is nothing but a memory. And when you get to Big Sur, you deal with the hard reality of that. You know, now he's just washed up and he's angry and he's alone and scared, and he has, you know, his friends are all scattered around.
I wonder if Kerouac, if he initially, before writing On the Road, knew he would write Big Sur, and if so, if he almost regretted not making like part 1 and part 2. Because I think the way it is now, not many people pick up on the fact that they're related, aside from them being written by the same guy. Because I didn't know that until you just mentioned, until you brought it up today.
I don't know. I mean, I know he was definitely influenced by Proust, because he, you know, I think all of his work is called the Deleuze. Yeah. Crap, I can't remember the name of it. But all of his books, just like Proust, you know how we're gonna go about his stuff. Mm-hmm. It's meant to be like one big novel.
Okay.
So yeah, I think he definitely planned on writing Big Sur, because I mean the whole thing is him trying to find an adventure, like looking for the same adventure that he had once had, and then it being a walloping disappointment, because once he gets people to hang out with him, he just wants to be alone. Once he's alone, he hates himself. You know. So what does this have to do with Burroughs? Well, Burroughs, at this point in time, he's just a mess of a person. Yeah, he writes Naked Lunch, has the reputation of being a really difficult novel, rightfully so.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't say it's a difficult novel in the sense that it's like hard to get through. Like the recognition is difficult. I would say it's difficult in the sense that it's just weird.
Yeah, but I also think the cut up stuff is pretty hard.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult to follow along for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, the Beats, I might have mentioned this before, like their whole thing. I read this in a really good essay. Is like they use the madman as a sage, completely independent. Yeah. In Naked Lunch, we see how enlightenment through drug use becomes drug abuse.
Yep.
And then the whole novel is just their generation at its most depraved, lonely, and nihilistic.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a thought, like in some respects, you could argue in that regard that it's almost contrary to the hippies, because the hippies use drugs like in order to achieve enlightenment, whereas Burroughs and the Beats, for the most part, at least Burroughs for sure, just showed that you can't ever get that through drugs.
No, I didn't. I mean, I think at one point they had the same aim. I think they wanted to reach enlightenment through drug use, but as you can see, it didn't turn out that way. Just like the counterculture, the counterculture ended with Altamont and Charles Manson. You know what I mean? It's all in its dusty death to destruction.
I mean, I'm looking right now. So, I almost wonder if the hippies were well, we already said like this definitely influenced the hippies, but I wonder if, because Naked Lunch was published in 1959, the hippies weren't until really the mid to late 1960s.
Yeah.
I wonder if they kind of thought they could get away with drugs. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But let me get my train of thought back real quick. I don't know why I'm blanking. Yeah, they absolutely did, but I think they also I think most of them just kind of went around Burroughs. Yeah. But they idolized Ginsberg and Kerouac. Burroughs wasn't idolized until Lou Reed, David Bowie,
it's true.
Patti Smith, all those people came around, Mm-hmm. Then he was like a punk rock. Because
that is very true, yeah.
Because Burroughs is definitely like, an aggravation towards the status quo. Like he is the most like transgressive of their
Oh yeah.
Of their group. Like he's meant to piss people off. I mean, that maybe that's the appeal. I don't flipping know. Trying to watch my language. I want you to read this quote though. Okay. Because I've read it. I just want to see Brett's reaction with you. You hear the context of this, where Kerouac is coming from. Okay. So this is post on the road. He is searching for peace. He is searching to connect with nature in some, Emersonian way.
Yeah.
He's been practicing Buddhism, wrestling with his Catholic faith. Terrible, tragic, drunkard. And he, hates himself. Completely does not like what he sees. And that's one of the most tragic things about Kerouac, and I do have a lot of sympathy with. And you know exactly what has happened with the Beats. Him and Ginsberg, highly successful thinkers, philosophers, and writers. And their friend Burroughs, their friend Lucien, murderers. Yeah. Ginsberg says he watched the best minds of his generation. Yeah. So when you read this, I want you to think exactly what had happened. Can you do that?
I can.
All right.
Read it out loud?
Absolutely. just that big walloping paragraph. This is on
wow.
page, I think, 8 of Big Sur. So this is, this is the moment. This is the thing that transports. This is what gets the plot going in Big Sur.
All right. Says, one fast more or I'm gone, I realize. Gone the way.
Read it again. One fast.
One fast more or I'm gone. Oh, that's a typo alert.
Yep.
That's not me, unable to read. That's a typo.
Start it again.
One fast move or I'm gone, I realize. Gone the way of the last 3 years of drunken hopelessness, which is a physical and spiritual and metaphysical hopelessness you can't learn in school, no matter how many books on existentialism or pessimism you read, or how many jugs of vision-producing ayahuasca you drink, or mescaline you take, or peyote goop up with. That feeling when you wake up with the delirium tremens, with the fear of eerie death dripping from your ears like those special heavy cobwebs spiders weave in the hot countries. The feeling of being a bent-back mudman monster groaning underground in hot steaming mud, pulling a long hot burden nowhere. The feeling of standing ankle-deep in hot-boiled pork blood, ugh, of being up to your waist in a giant pan of greasy brown dishwasher, not a trace of suds left in it. The face of yourself you see in the mirror with its expression of unbearable anguish, so haggard and awful with sorrow, you can't even cry for a thing so ugly, so lost. No connection whatever with early perfection, and therefore nothing to connect with tears or anything. It's like William Seward Burroughs' stranger suddenly appearing in your place in the mirror. Enough. One fast move or I'm gone. So I jump up, do my headstand first, to pump blood back into the hairy brain, take a shower in the hall, new t-shirt and socks and underwear, pack vigorously, hoist the rucksack, and run out, throwing the key on the desk, and hit the cold street. I've got to escape or die.
Hard stuff, eh?
Very hard.
That's one of the things I like about that text so much is the fact, Kerouac, and unlike what Mr. Capote says, it's not just typing. What Kerouac is doing here, you notice with the string, it's just broken up into commas. Like he's just panicking.
I mean, if I remember right, that's one long sentence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is in the midst of a panic attack.
Yeah.
So when he brings up Burroughs, the old bull is what they would call him.
Yeah.
This guy he was friends with, he looked up to.
Yeah.
And he can't even stand it. He's comparing himself. It's like imposter syndrome, man. He's comparing himself. He's so degraded and hates himself so flippin' much. The mere mention of William Burroughs conjures up the darkness that could be within himself.
Yeah.
He can't, and he screams, "Enough!"
Yeah.
And he comes back with one fast move or I'm gone.
Yeah.
And he means that either he's going to leave, which like he states in the beginning, or he's going to, leave this into, he's going to transcend in that way. I don't want to say it because it's so dark, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Either suicide or drugs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying in the next chapter, right, immediately after this page,
Yeah.
he opens it up again. One fast move or I'm gone. Now it's become a mantra. So he's just wanting to destroy himself.
Yeah.
And that is what makes Big Sur such a sad, sad read.
Yeah. It seems like, I haven't read it, but.
And that's the thing. He mentions Burroughs as the stranger. Burroughs stranger.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's just kind of how they're coping with this whole thing.
Yeah, and from what I gather, like I said, I haven't read it, but it seems like it's almost like a snowball effect. Like he just has to say it over and over again, and the more he thinks about Burroughs, the more frequently he has to tell himself that.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what, That's why I love about that. When I first read that, man, I had to reread it, and I put the book down. I almost wept. I was like, that is exactly, he's guiding the reader through his own panic attack. I think that is excellent writing. I don't think I'm going to start sounding redundant here in a second, but
no, I mean, I think there's different types of great writing. There's all different types of prose, and like that is great prose because it almost exactly characterizes how we think, like a mindset.
mm-hmm.
Like there's some prose it will describe a mindset like from the outside looking in, but this is from the inside looking out.
Yep, exactly.
It's literally replicating thoughts.
Mm-hmm. And so that's why, if you want to understand the beats,
mm-hmm.
The big three of them, no matter the opinion, we can all agree that, I do think Burroughs is an essential read. If you want to get into, deeper or more difficult prose, or books. And, the Beat Generation, I think, is a must read. You have to read.
I mean, regardless of if you agree with it, it was influential.
Yes, you have to know. When you want to understand the beats and you want to get a deeper understanding of those novels, you need to know the context. Yeah. You can't separate. For me, you cannot separate their lives from their art in the way of consuming their art.
I mean, that's why, like, the first time I read it, I was like, this is, like, absolute crap. Because I didn't know anything about it. I just knew it was a famous novel and whatever. And so I read it, and I was like, this is so weird. But, like I said, like, I read it again. I'll probably read it again in the future because it's like, every time I read it, now that I know the backstory, I know what the bigger picture is, it's much more impressive.
Yeah, and now, these are two men who themselves, they feel isolated. Kerouac is isolated because he has no idea who he is anymore because he's now an image to so many people.
Well, it's almost like David Foster Wallace.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
Boom. There we go.
I mean, I would imagine that Kerouac was a huge influence on Wallace.
I would like to think so. Maybe not. We're going to look that up. If any of our fellow Wallace enthusiasts are out there, let us know.
But I guess I'm just thinking, like, all throughout Infinite Jest, there are a lot of passages where Wallace imitates that style, imitates what's going on in the mind. He has like multiple pages where there's like just one run-on sentence. So at the very least, stylistically, I would think he was influenced.
Sometimes I fight the urge to say, I really want to reread Infinite Jest because there's so many hulking moments where I'm like, why would I do this to myself?
Yeah.
But I really want to reread some David Foster Wallace.
I mean, I'm not ready anytime soon, but I know at some point in my life.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Maybe in a few years.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you with a quote. William S. Burroughs, Letters to Allen Ginsberg. Whether you like it or not, you are committed to the human endeavor. I cannot ally myself with such a purely negative goal as avoidance of suffering. Suffering is a chance you take by the fact of being alive.
That's truth.
Yep, that's the scary thing.
Yeah, we all suffer in different ways.
Yeah,
and as long as we're alive, we're going to suffer.
Ooh. Yeah. You're going to make me have an existential crisis here.
I mean, you haven't had one already yet?
I've had one. If you hear closely when I'm talking about the panic attack, like you could probably hear my voice shake because like sometimes I get like I can feel it going up my spine and I start shivering. I'm like, there it is, man. There it is. There's that spirit.
So it wasn't the cold of the basement. It was your existentialism.
Nope. Yep. It happens, man. Yeah. I got it at a Texas Roadhouse a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
After I ate some delicious rolls, and I was like, man, life is good. It's gooder than grits.
Did you have a lot of their peanuts too?
No, they didn't have any peanuts. I didn't see
They
any.
don't have any, I thought Texas Roadhouse was the steakhouse that has peanuts. That you can
They usually do, but I think they've stopped after COVID.
Oh, really?
I think so, because
Yeah.
I don't know. I've only been there like twice since, but
Okay. All right.
there is how my mind works
Yeah.
when reading a
Okay.
good book.
Yeah.
I hope it wasn't a waste of time.
Oh no, it was good. Anything else about the beats or anything? Because this is really Beau's forte. You know, we've been talking about doing this for a while. So he kind of wrote up his own little personal essay on this, and he talked a little bit about it today. And
Yeah, I'm trying to write a little bit more essays so I can put them into.
a book collection.
Maybe not. I mean, I was gonna say applications to grad programs, but I could do a little book collection. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, if I do, and the people are gonna want to see them, and they're gonna see how incoherent some of this is, but it makes sense in my mind. My mind is just all over the place. Yeah.
Okay.
I highly suggest watching Burroughs in the Criterion Collection. It is a wonderful documentary. It is incredibly dark, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going through his whole life. There's a moment in there where he talks about, the day of, he just had a feeling the whole day, and he warns you, if you feel this, you better run.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm like, man, I hope I never feel anything like that. It's scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, read Ginsberg, read Hal, read On the Road and Big Sur.
Yeah, probably the big takeaway is rereading things is oftentimes necessary.
Absolutely.
And I think, a lot of the reasons, really the biggest reason I rarely reread things is because there's just so much out there to read. And it
once you realize you're reading against the clock, you start to panic.
Yeah. But
absolutely. Absolutely. It's like Infinite Jest. Like the end of the novel is at the beginning of the novel, so you're forced to reread that first bit.
I still actually haven't done that yet. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was satisfying.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah. I think our next episode is probably going to be on the recognitions.
We're almost there. Brett is how many pages away?
93 away.
I have some catching up to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was in Chicago, so didn't get a lot of reading done.
Yeah.
I didn't get a lot of things done.
You did go to a Bulls game.
I did.
And a hockey game.
And a hockey game.
Yep. And an architecture tour.
It was cold.
And a gangster tour.
That was cool.
Beau, did you go to your own place because you're the OG? Oh! OG being original gangster.
Nah, they were watching me 24/7.
Okay, you were under surveillance.
They had me tracked.
Yeah. From Amtrak.
From this.
Did they have
CTA.
you? Did they have you Amtracked?
Gosh.
Oh, jokes.
This is what you're missing out on, ladies.
Yes.
It never stops.
If you like dad jokes, reach out. There's plenty where those came from.
So desperate.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Well, do you have anything else?
No, it's been good. I feel like this went really well.
I hope it did.
Hopefully we've given you a new appreciation or understanding for Burroughs and the beats. Like I always say, appreciate the art. You don't have to like the artist, but you can appreciate the art.
Absolutely. Well, have a good night. Have a good week.
Yeah. Whenever you're listening to this, if you're listening to it in the morning, have a great day. If you're listening to it at night, have a great sleep.
If you're driving, don't drive like me.
Boom.
All right.
Later.